This is TechKnow, a show about innovations that can change lives.
The science of fighting a wildfire.
We're going to explore the intersection of hardware and humanity, and we're doing it in a unique way. This is a show about science
Oh my God.
by scientists. Tonight, trash. It's everywhere.
What's the output of this facility?
Landfills overflowing.
It smells so bad.
But some of our trash could be recycled.
Why isn't it being done more?
Now TechKnow investigates the problem with plastic.
They throw it on the street or throw it in the ocean.
We have the technology,
Don't want to. No, you can't.
so why don't we use it?
So you don't know what happens to the plastic that you recover.
Dr. Shini Somara is a mechanical engineer. Dr. Crystal Dilworth is a neuroscientist.
We're standing by a pipe that's labeled heated sludge.
And I'm Phil Torres, I'm an entomologist. That's our team.
It smells very organic.
Now let's do some science. Hey guys, welcome to TechKnow. I'm Phil Torres. Today, we're going to be talking trash, and a ton of it. And joining me with this trash talk, Dr. Crystal Dilworth and Dr. Shini Somara. Now, first up, the water bottle. Now, by some estimates, here in the US, we use 50 billion of these every year. And myth number one is that this is going to be recycled.
Correct. Actually, it's probably not going to be recycled. A lot of the water bottles that we think are headed for a recycling facility end up in landfills. And those landfills can have some really negative impacts on the surrounding communities.
It's actually quite shocking that a material that is designed to be used over and over again actually only gets used once. Now what we've done is take a water bottle just like this and follow its journey after it's been blue binned to see exactly what happens. The world is addicted to plastic. It was sold to us as the product of the future.
Plastic, plastic, plastic.
This educational video from the 1940s celebrates the convenience of plastic.
Here they are in our homes, augmenting our comforts.
Back then, it was a symbol of the modern times to come. 6 decades later, the reality is the Earth is choking on it. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, only 9% of plastic is making its way into the recycling stream.
That's a people problem. They throw it on the street or throw it in the ocean, or unfortunately, that's a habit that has to be stopped.
It's our addiction to single-use plastic for fast food, storage and packaging convenience that's at the root of the problem.
We're guilty, and we should just admit it.
Dr. Stephen Nutt is a professor of materials science at USC. He studies the physics and chemistry of materials like plastic.
It seems to have been a material that was developed for convenience, but we're now, almost 100 years later, paying the price.
If you look at the population as a whole, probably the majority have not yet realized the magnitude of the problem.
And nothing symbolizes the problem like the omnipresent plastic water bottle. Americans consume water from about 50 billion bottles a year. Made from what's called PET, or polyethylene terephthalate, two monomers, ethylene glycol and purified terephthalic acid, combine to create a polymer, resulting in a lightweight but strong material.
Why then does it last almost to infinity in a landfill?
These essentially are the same type of bonds that hold together diamond.
If you're conscientious enough to throw a water bottle into a blue recycle bin, like we do here at TechKnow, then you probably think that water bottle is going to be turned into another water bottle. But that may not necessarily be the case. TechKnow wanted to find out what happens next, so we followed the water bottle. This is the massive Puente facility near Los Angeles, California. Located near a large metropolis, it can take a lot of trash.
If you take a football field from post to post, 10 feet high, fill it up with trash. About a third of that, or a quarter of that, comes over here every day.
3,000 tons a day. This facility offers a glimpse into the world of single-stream recycling, because all of the recycled material it receives comes from a single-source bin like this. Convenient because all recyclables end up in one basket, but there's a price.
You can't unscramble an egg.
Susan Collins is a manufacturing engineer who heads up a non-profit recycling institute.
Once materials get mixed together too much, like glass shards ending up in paper, or plastic bottles ending up in the paper stream, or aluminum cans ending up in the plastic stream, all of that is detrimental to recycling.
Sorting seems to be a massive component.
There are multiple compositions of plastic. When these different plastics are blended together, then the recycling becomes difficult to impossible.
That's exactly what's happening at the Puente plant. That means a bottle won't be turned back into another bottle, but instead it will go on another journey into the secondary plastic market.
One of the myths is that once you place the water bottle in a blue recycle bin, it can actually be made back into a water bottle again. The technology is there. Why isn't it being done more?
You know, I can't really speak to the industry of what happens after, the water bottle leaves our facility. We just make sure that the containers that come in here are recovered as much as possible.
So you don't know what happens to the plastic that you recover once you've given it to the broker?
Well, no, but from what we understand, there is a local market for that. But for the most part, a lot of the material is shipped overseas, mostly to the Asian Pacific.
In 2014, the secondary plastic market sent about half of California's plastic trash to China. Because it's a mix of all the different types of plastics, it can only be melted down or repurposed, a process known as downcycling.
It could be t-shirts, it could be teddy bear stuffing, it could be carpets.
Because downcycled products end up on landfill, don't they, eventually?
Yeah, they just take a longer trip before they eventually end up in the landfill.
And there's another inherent problem with single-stream recycling.
Half of the country has access to recycling, and the other half might have a drop-off program that might be nearby, or it might be 10 or 20 miles away. In the US, we're able to use about 5 to 7% recycled content in PET beverage bottles in the United States. The number in Germany is 25 to 35%.
In the US, bottle bills are rare. California is only one of 6 states that places a redemption value on non-carbonated PET bottles.
Why don't we have a national bottle bill? Because it seems to be so successful.
Sure, it's purely for political reasons.
But when plastic bottles are purchased in California, consumers pay anywhere from a nickel to a dime deposit on them at checkout.
We see about 1.5 million customers a month.
Canadian-based company Replanet, with 700 locations in the US, offers a plastic buyback program. They're a sort of middleman in the plastics trade. They redeem bottles for deposit.
The result is dramatic. The recycling rate in California is typically 3 times higher than that of the rest of the nation.
Here at this Replanet sorting facility, they process over 2 million bottles a day, packaging up the best quality PET. These mountains of plastic are pressed, prepped, and then baled. Among the buyers for this baled PET is Carbon Light, a 220,000 square foot plant where they transform used plastic into material for new bottles. As a mechanical engineer, I feel like a kid in a candy store.
And it's very hard. Yeah. You don't want to touch it. No, you can't.
Bales brought here are broken, and the plastics are separated from any debris and then washed in hot water.
In our second stage, that washes it very clearly, separates the caps and labels from the PET bottles.
It's then separated into clear PET, green PET, and non-PET. The clear and coloured PET is ground into flakes and washed again, heated, then melted.
And then becomes pellets.
It's called one-to-one or bottle-to-bottle recycling. the plastic from one bottle is used to make another. Nothing ends up in landfill. They even recycle the labels and caps. Nestle Waters and Pepsi's Naked Juice are among the companies heavily vested in one-to-one.
So if we get the recycle rates high enough in the US, it's very easy for us to have 100% recycled material for our use.
If you keep something in a closed loop, you're replacing virgin resources over and over and over again. So the math catches up with you in a pretty awesome way and is responsible for avoiding a whole bunch of environmental consequences.
Throwaway living. A promise of liberation. Americans are free at last. This feature in Life magazine from 1955 signaled the beginning of a throwaway society.
If people only knew the problem that they were creating when they extolled the virtues of throwaway living. This is a monster in the creating right here.
Hello. Hello. Hi, my name is Jennifer. Do you know about the Newbie Island dump? They want to expand it. Have you experienced, odors?
Oh, constantly, for years.
These neighbors are talking trash. As a group of Milpitas, California residents go door to door to fight the expansion of the Newbie Island landfill, located in the neighboring city of San Jose. They hold weekly meetings.
It stinks.
And they host town halls.
There is a significant odor that comes from the Newbie Island facility.
Sometimes, when I just go out and take a walk, I just feel dizzy and I feel like throwing up.
Whole Milpitas is like a huge bathroom, It smells so bad.
Milpitas, California. A sleepy bedroom community is the gateway to Silicon Valley. A bustling tech town of 70,000, many citizens here say the garbage is taking over and ruining their quality of life.
I'm a real estate broker, and years ago, very few people would ask about odor. Now 100% of the people that are buyers within the community are asking about the odor. That is going to affect property values.
Newbie Island Resource Recovery Park here in San Jose is a landfill operated by Republic Services, the nation's second largest waste management company. It's been taking trash since 1930 and was scheduled to close in 2025. Instead, today, the city of San Jose is not only planning to keep it open until 2041, they want to grow it from 150 feet above sea level to 245 feet, increasing its capacity more than 15 million cubic yards.
We failed and didn't stop this expansion. I want to move out of this area.
Americans create about 250 million tons of trash a year. In 1988, there were about 8,000 landfills in America. 2 decades later, that number dropped to below 2,000. Spurred on by environmental and health concerns, heavily populated areas started closing landfills and shipping trash to more remote regions. San Francisco hauls its trash about 50 miles across the bay. New York City trash is trucked out of state to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, even as far away as Ohio, Virginia, and South Carolina. And until recently, America was doing a brisk business selling its scrap to China. But now, even China is leery.
Times have changed. The awareness of the public is much greater about health issues now than it was when Newbie began.
Newbie is one of the largest active landfills on the shores of San Francisco Bay.
I don't think it should smell like this in America.
The city of Milpitas filed a lawsuit against San Jose over environmental impacts caused by the landfill. The Bay Area Air Quality Management District, which has received 2,000 Newbie landfill odor complaints, has issued Newbie Island 5 public nuisance violations related to odor issues. According to a district spokesman, they are still negotiating the fines.
Trash is a big business, and unfortunately it's a smelly business too.
Don Litchfield is the Northern California Environmental Manager for Republic Services.
The community itself seems to have some concerns about this site and the odor problem that they're experiencing.
Unfortunately, we've been a little slow to address those concerns, so we'd like to apologize to the community for that. Here at the landfill, we've had an odor mitigation plan that we've been working on for years. We get a lot of fresh refuse that comes in every day, and we have odor misting stations set up in strategic locations throughout the landfill that can mitigate some of the fresh odors.
In addition, Republic says it invested heavily in the state-of-the-art recycling facility to help divert landfill waste.
All of the material that we accept, over 1,000 tons a day from the Bay Area in California, comes into this facility and we divert it from the landfill. So we process the material and remove everything that's recyclable.
And so what's the output of this facility?
200,000 tons a year are being diverted from the landfill. Our output is 400 tons of paper, 30 tons of plastic, 90 tons of glass, and 30 tons of metal every day.
Despite diverting nearly 50% of their annual waste, the landfill is still growing, and that causes some to look toward another possible solution. In Sweden, a country that boasts 33 incinerators, trash is burned to create fuel and what's known as waste to energy. About half of their waste is recycled, and the rest is burned. Less than 1% goes to landfill. Sweden is known as a world leader in waste-to-energy incinerators like this one, which utilizes modern technology to capture and control emissions. San Francisco authorities tell us they have no plans to build an incinerator in the Bay Area. Instead, they say they plan to increase composting and to continue to ban what they call bad designs.
What is your hope for San Francisco?
What we're trying to do is really break that addiction to plastic water.
San Francisco is the first city in the country to ban the single-use water bottle from city property.
In the case of our ban on single-use plastic water bottles, the goal here is to establish a marker, to lay it down in San Francisco, to work with other cities to do the same.
In the meantime, however, we're still a consume and dump nation. Republic's landfill manager, Augustine Marino, says he wants residents to know just one thing.
As someone that works in trash for a living, and you hear the concerns of the citizens of Milpitas, what do you have to say to them?
This is not a dump. You know, you hear that word very often, and for us, you know, that we work here every day, it's not fair to call this a dump. This is a modern sanitary landfill. We take pride of what we do here.
These residents say they just wish they were doing it somewhere else.
So it's not that I'm just fighting for my backyard. I'm fighting for the entire Bay Area's backyard. Nobody's backyard is going to be spared.
Mountains of trash piled high as the eye can see at this landfill just outside San Francisco. But inside this mass, scientists see potential. Some of this waste is organic. About 40% of landfill waste nationwide is from food. That's waste that doesn't have to be there. But innovators are tackling that waste. A program that takes food from restaurants, vineyards, and farms in the area turns that waste into energy.
We're finding new ways to reuse what we used to call waste.
Right now I'm at 90% of the waste recycling and composting.
Gabriela Lozano owns a small cafe in San Francisco's Mission District. She composts everything.
I'm a strong believer that I'm doing what I can and the best that I can.
What she's doing here on a small scale is part of a much bigger picture.
You look at what she's doing here in terms of diverting waste away from landfills and creating a recycling type of circuit here with everything that happens at L's, and that's what we have to look to.
Inspired by Western Europe, San Francisco offers owners like Lozano financial incentives to compost.
A lot of these small businesses are actually doing it for economic reasons. It lowers their bill for recycling, for their garbage bill overall. Money is a way to motivate people.
But it's not the only motivator.
When the food waste is in the landfill, it decomposes and it generates methane gas. And methane is a very potent greenhouse gas.
John Hake is a civil engineer who runs the resource recovery program in the East Bay, where they combine solid food waste with liquid wastewater to create fuel.
It has an odor. It smells very organic.
Yes, that's the term we use to describe the smell. It's like a black gold. And
the process works like this. Food waste from throughout the Bay Area is trucked here to the East Bay Municipal Utility District, or East Bay MUD, a sewage treatment plant and a pioneer of green power.
We're the first plant in North America to become energy neutral and ultimately energy positive. When we started the truck waste program, East Bay Mud produced about 40% of the energy we needed to run the plant, and that's pretty typical for a wastewater treatment plant. Today we're at 130% of our demand, and that allows us to sell that excess renewable energy to the Port of Oakland, our neighbors next door.
I'm a little apprehensive. We're standing by a pipe that's labeled heated sludge.
The heated sludge is going into an anaerobic digester.
Okay.
A digester is like the human stomach. So organic material goes into the digester, and in there it's biodegraded by bacteria. And they feed on the solid material, and that solid material is being converted into biogas. And that biogas is a great renewable energy source, and it's a fuel that we use to run our engines and turbine to generate electricity.
Let me get this straight. I eat a bunch of food, and I take the energy and the fuel that I can from that, and then it goes into the sewer system, and you collect that, and you're giving it to bacteria. They're turning it into energy.
That's correct. Each digester here is about 2 million gallons, and we have 11 of them, so that's 22 million gallons of capacity.
East Bay Mud shared the technology, and now other water treatment facilities in Brooklyn, New York, and in California cities of Marin, Thousand Oaks, Fresno, and San Diego are using it.
Most of us don't think about the waste, whether it's flushing the toilet or throwing things in the garbage. It just kind of disappears. And I think as a society, we've been very successful at sort of hiding where the waste goes. And I think as time goes on and population grows and waste generation grows, that we become more aware of waste generation.
There's a great responsibility not to leave such a big impact in the city or in the world for the next generation.
So through all of this, it's clear there is a problem out there with recycling, with way too much trash. So what can we do as consumers?
Well, and some people think it's an individual choice. We just need to get better at sorting our trash and sorting our recyclables and actually following through. And others think that we need to be taking a legislative approach. I mean, San Francisco, they've banned water bottles and government property, and maybe we can do more things like that.
When I work in Latin America, glass bottles are the norm there. That is what you use whenever you get a soda from a restaurant or something. But the difference there is you are expected to return that glass bottle to the person and they recycle it. Lots of times they'll give you a quarter in return, but if you don't return that glass bottle, you're being very rude. It's like a societal norm that you are breaking.
I think as consumers, we need to be extremely mindful of not using plastic once. So just try and, increase the times that you use a piece of packaging, and then just make sure that you trash it in a blue bin once you finish with it.
When it comes to responsible use, I mean, also you think about whether or not you're putting it in the blue bin at all. I mean, a lot of people just have this idea, well, I'm going to throw it in the trash, I'm going to throw it in this bin, and whatever it is just going to disappear into the ether, and now I'm absolved of all responsibility. But it has to go somewhere. I mean, conservation of mass, if nothing else.
It really did make me more aware of how much plastic I'm actually using. When I use a plastic straw or plastic cup, any of those things, we just, because it seems like there's so many of them, we just use them once and throw them away, and that's the end of it.
Absolutely. There's nothing like standing at the open face of a landfill and going through your head of like, well, I threw away that yogurt container, and then I had a water bottle this morning, and my cup's probably in there. And you really start to realize how much of this waste you generate in a day.
I'm sure you could see it and you could smell it.
Yes, doesn't smell too great.
Well, guys, it was certainly a dirty job, but an important one to tell, so thank you for bringing it to us. That's it for now. Be sure to check us out next time, right here on TechKnow.